Three, two. Hey, Shane, so talk to us. Tell me one or a couple tactic strategies or thoughts we can do with Google Ads that you know can definitely help other practice owners out if we were to implement it today.
Yeah, Michael, Google Ads, as we've talked about before on here, is one of the best avenues to advertise your practice because you know that people who are Googling something, I mean, it's a verb, right? We Google it, they're searching for something. We can get our services in front of those individuals, but we have to have a strategy in place and know exactly what our end game and goal is. So today's example, one of the things I know your audience talks a lot about, and obviously we get reached out to, is how do we increase our dental implant production in our practice? Obviously, implants are certainly they're profitable for the practice, but I find it more so that people just like placing them. They love the result, the transformation that they can have in people's lives. And so if you're wanting to do more implant cases, Google Ads is going to be one of, if not the best avenue for you to go and start to attract those type of patients. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about, so stick around as we do this episode, is how you can compete with some of the big players in dental implant marketing out there that have tens of thousands of dollars to spend per month, how you can take some of their traffic and make your budget, become as most optimized as possible, even if you have a smaller budget with them. But with implant marketing, Michael, it all starts with knowing, having first off a clear offer that you're going to be advertising, whether that be a free consultation with cone beam exam, whether it be $500 off treatment, whether it be highlighting payment plan options that you have available. You need to have something that you can drive that traffic to say, oh, okay, like this is interesting. I want to check this out. If you just have an ad running that says, we place dental implants, unless you're like one of the only people in the area who places dental implants, you're going to have a really hard time sticking out and drawing attention to your ad, because at the end of the day, it is an ad. So first and foremost, make sure that you clarify an offer and you advertise that offer in the ad itself. That's number one. Number two is you need to have a dedicated landing page created for that implant campaign that re-emphasizes what your offer is right at the top of the fold of the site, so nobody has to scroll down to see that. So when you think of a landing page for an implant campaign, right when someone clicks on the ad, the first thing that they should see is the offer on the landing page. They should see a phone number where they can contact someone, or they should see also or a book an appointment or book a consultation button as well. All of those call to actions should be right there where the patient shouldn't have to scroll down and search for it. Once they do scroll down, that's where you can start including information like your credentials, the different implant options that you offer, patient testimonials that are social proof, which is huge in closing cases, not only once they're in the chair, but just getting cases in the office for consultations. They want to hear from people like them. They want to see, what others have experienced in your practice. So that's the second part of this, campaign is building a landing page geared around that. But the third part here is know what your cost per conversion and your cost per acquisition is. And this is where most dental practices get hung up because they never find out what that number is, usually because they don't have the proper tracking set up, which we talked about this in our previous episode. So if people want to go check that out, definitely go look into proper tracking for your campaigns. But we need to know that, okay, if we have a $1,500 a month budget, which is kind of the average what we see with all the accounts that we manage. If we have a $1,500 a month Google Ads budget, and we know that we're going to generate, let's say, 6 leads from that budget, and we know of those 6 leads, we're going to close 2 of those 6 patients. We need to know what an average, ballpark number is as far as that cost per acquisition. So in the case of, $1,500, and we had 2 cases, you're looking at roughly what, $750 per, closed case. And if the average implant, just a single implant crown abutment in your office is $3,000 or $3,500, that's a pretty solid return on investment. So that's your cost per acquisition, that's $750. So you have a cost per lead, and you have a cost per acquisition or closed case. And really the cost per conversion is just on the ad side, on the marketer side, figuring out, okay, this is how much it costs us to get a form submitted. This is how much it costs for somebody to call the practice. But your team and your marketing company or whoever's doing your marketing should be able to come together with that cost per closed case. So then we know, okay, if we spend, $5,000 a month, we should at least produce X amount in implant cases. So that's the really cool thing about Google Ads. When you have it set up properly and tracking properly, you get those numbers. So that way, essentially, okay, if I spend $1, I should get $5 back from this campaign. So that's a really important part of this. Otherwise, you're always kind of going at it blind and you don't necessarily know, if your dollars are paying off or not. One thing I do want to talk about, just kind of piggyback off of all that, Michael, is a common question that we get at Crimson Media is, well, I really do want to place more implants, but I'm in a really saturated area. There's a lot of the big players who run a lot of the TV commercials on implants, and they've got thousands of dollars a month that they're spending in marketing, and I don't have that. How will I ever compete? And the thing that you want to think of is, how can you be most efficient, right? It's like somebody who's, an athlete, for example. If we've played in sports, we've all faced that person who's, is better athletically than you. Maybe they're taller, maybe they're stronger, faster.
Yeah.
That was pretty much everybody for me, because I'm like 5'8", 140. But so you had
we're
to
the same.
out, yeah, right. Michael and I are like the same size, same build. So, but in that case, okay, in order for me to compete with this person or beat this person, I have to be smarter. I have to be more, efficient with how I use my energy. The same exact thing goes with your marketing game plan when you are maybe a single practice owner or a smaller practice competing with big corporations. You got to think, how can we be smarter with the budget? So where that comes in is, number one, making sure that, like we talked about, your landing page is properly optimized for conversions and everything that we talked about there. The second part of that, though, is making sure that you're bidding on the most profitable keywords that people are searching for. So you may not necessarily want to show up for all the different dental implant related keywords, because your budget's only going to go so far, and you're going to try to tackle too many keywords at once, and you're not going to really get any returns on anything. Rather than, you may want to focus on some particular keywords that have action intent behind them, such as schedule dental implant consultation or dental implants near me. Some specific actionable keywords there where the person is interested, or they're looking most likely to schedule an appointment. Not necessarily how much are dental implants, how do dental implants work. You don't want to bid on those keywords if you have a smaller budget, because those keywords that person may not be far enough down the buying cycle yet. They're more in that research phase. And so one of the things that we've done at Crimson Media is optimize those budgets around those keywords. And what it has allowed us to do is essentially put more of our eggs in a particular basket of keywords. And what that's done is that's actually stolen traffic from some of these big competitors, and they've gone to our clients because we have focused on the most profitable keywords. So I'm actually going to share my screen really quickly here for a second and show you. This is one of our client accounts we were just going through last week, actually. And we were looking at the auction insights in Google Ads and trying to decide, okay, who are our biggest competitors in the area? And our client, who has roughly a $1,500 a month ads budget, just a little over that, I think it may be like up to $1,600 a month. Their impression share, as far as all the implant related keywords in their community, they show up more than 55% of the time for those keywords, where you have one of the big corporate companies out there who's showing up way below that in relation to our client. And then numerous other practices out there that don't have near the impression share or the top of page rate that our clients do. And the reason for that is because rather than taking this wide net approach to trying to capture all these different keywords that have dental implants in them, we looked at the data and said, what are the keywords that people search that most likely are ready to schedule an appointment or most serious. And we just focused on those and put our entire budget into those keywords. And because of that, this particular office in 2 months time period spent just under $3,000 and produced more than $12,000 in production. So, that's a 4-to-1 return on investment in a couple of months time. And it's all geared around that particular strategy. Again, if we look at, the total impression share of our client, much smaller office versus one of the big names that's running tons of commercials and whatnot, their impression share was 40%, whereas our clients was 57%. So we're showing up way more. And then the second kind of part of that, Michael, that's really cool and just gets us all excited is, companies like this are going to be running the commercials. They're going to spend thousands of dollars in the commercials. And when somebody Googles dental implants looking for that company, our clients are going to show up above what that company does. And so what happens many times is we'll get patients that contact our clients and say, well, we actually saw this Clear Choice commercial and we, went and we Googled it, but we saw you guys pop up and saw that you're, local and you're not national. And we read some of the reviews and we thought, wow, maybe they offer something similar. And once you've done that and you can bring that more personalized care to the patient and let your team kind of take over from there, that's where the magic really starts to happen. So again, it's about working more efficiently and smarter than, some of the big companies that can just kind of spread their budget all around and kind of just do a volume-based approach. We want to be, smarter when it comes to how we target those keywords.
Got you. So it's kind of like you're going fishing for a specific type of fish, getting that specific bait that fish likes, kind of thing, right? And then waiting, being patient. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say like how like a lot of times with SEO, they're like, oh, you got to be super, super patient and take time. This is more like specific, like you're going to get them. So with implant marketing, then this kind of goes with, if we're thinking right now, if somebody's listening is like, okay, what's the first main things, right? You said we don't want to just have an ad running, right? We need an offer. Best offer would be what? Like free implant consultation, or what do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, we always, free implant consultation, you pretty much have to have that to compete in the ad space just because everyone offers it. But one thing that's worked out really well for us, depending on the financing companies that you use, is being able to bring up, payment plan, full arch implants, for example, payment plans starting as low as, X amount of dollars per month. So if you use like a Green Sky or a Lending Club, popular companies like that, you can usually get kind of a ballpark, average number on what their payment plans can start at on like a full arch. And that makes it a lot more digestible, we have found, for people, because they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's, less than a car payment. I could afford that.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So you want to offer something, right? Have an offer that sticks out, draw attention to your ad, then they click it, goes to a dedicated landing page, right? Now your website. From that point on, that's going to reemphasize it's going to be super simple. And then from that point on, you want to know, I guess you want to know your cost per conversion and acquisition, right? So find out what that number is. And that's not that easy to, or maybe it is easy to do, but I mean, like, I think, could people just reach out to you, or can people, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, I want to figure out like, what's the keywords I need to go for? Because how would we even figure that out? Like, do we just
that's a great question. So obviously, as we come into this with a lot of data, so we know what those keywords are. But if you're like running this yourself or it's your first time, you may not know what those keywords are. With the Google Ads campaign, we always tell people, give the campaign a minimum of 3 months of running and collecting that data. What will happen is in your Google Ads dashboard from there, Google will show you what particular search terms people clicked on your ad for, like what they searched and then saw your ad and clicked on it. And if you have your conversion tracking set up correctly, which again, we talked about in our previous episode together, you can go and look at what keywords had a conversion tied to them. So they called or they scheduled, a consultation. And then that's how you find out what keywords are working best for you. Google literally tells you that data. So that way you can optimize, the campaign around those particular keywords.
Gotcha.
But you
Gotcha.
want to let it run for like I said, at least 3 months, because if you run it for like 30 days, you're like, well, I didn't see nothing. Well, it doesn't really give the algorithm enough time to start, learning, because it's what it is. It's essentially artificial intelligence, right? It's learning, when to show your ads, what locations, what keywords. It's all figuring that data out and optimizing it, so then that way you're getting, the best possible results with, the money that you're spending.
Gotcha. Awesome, Shane. I appreciate your time. And if anyone has further questions, you can definitely find them in the Dental Marketer Society Facebook group, or where can they reach out to you directly?
Yeah, man. So you can always crimsonmediagroup.com. So crimsonmediagroup.com. You can reach out to us there, fill out a form. You'll get a text to get on my calendar to book a time to chat. Or you can also reach out to me on Facebook Messenger, Shane Simmons. You can find me on there, and we can always set something up. And yeah, we're always glad to help, or even just give some direction to people if they don't know where to start. We're always happy to help however we can.
Awesome. So, guys, that's all going to be in the show notes below. And if you're listening to this on the podcast and you wanted to check out the statistics and everything that Shane was talking about when he shared his screen, go in the show notes below and look at the video as well. And thank you guys so much for being with me on this Monday morning marketing episode. And Shane, thank you for being with me too.
Thanks, Michael.